Thumbnail. Hi guys, welcome back. I'm here today with my BookTubeAthon 2018 wrap up. So if you haven't seen them yet, I have two vlogs up. The first one is days 1 through 3 and the second one is days 4 through 7. If you've seen those, you may know that I got sick partway through BookTubeAthon. I am on the mend. I'm feeling much better. Thank you to those of you who've been concerned. But yeah, I got a cold, so that kind of knocked me out a little bit. I was able to do the first 4 video challenges, but kind of ran out of steam with being sick after that. So I did the first 4 video challenges, I did the first 6 Instagram challenges, and I did complete all of the reading challenges, which I am very happy about. So I'm here today to share with you guys all of the books that I read during BookTubeAthon. I did complete 7 books, and I also finished half of another book that I had started before BookTubeAthon began. So I'm really happy with how it went. Let's go through and show you all the books I read. So the first book that I read was to meet my coin toss challenge, and for that I read Escape from Mr. Lemoncello's Library by Chris Grabenstein. This is a middle grade book, and it kind of just celebrates books and libraries. It's a really fun middle grade adventure novel. It's like about these kids who are playing a game where they have to try to solve riddles and clues to escape from this really cool library. Anyway, it's really fun. It's a really quick read. I enjoyed it. I would definitely read more from this author, and I for sure recommend it for younger readers. I ended up giving this one 4 stars. Then, to fulfill the challenge of a book-to-movie adaptation, I finally read Ready Player One by Ernest Cline, and I did watch the movie. The movie is very different from the book. I like it, but it's quite different in a lot of ways, and even I think the message is different. So it was interesting chatting with my husband. He watched the movie with me but hasn't read the book, and so it was interesting kind of talking with him about the places where the movie is similar and different. It's funny because like the whole message of the movie is really about like getting out of online and how it's important to be in the real world, and deals with like net neutrality and stuff, none of which is really in the book in the same ways, but part of it too is that the book was written in 2011, I think. I ended up giving this book 3.5 stars. If you're interested in hearing like some more detailed thoughts about this book, feel free to check the link down below and go to my Goodreads account. I did write a review of it. I really liked the story, but it was really pulled down for me by like some low-key misogyny, some problematic elements. There were like just a lot of little things that I didn't like in the book, and where the author got kind of preachy about stuff that I didn't love. So yeah, so while I really liked the story, there was just a lot of extra stuff in here that I was not so much a fan of. So I ended up landing on 3.5 stars for this. Some people have been wondering like what I found to be misogynistic. Like I said, there were a lot of little things. One kind of obvious one that I guess I'll point out is this really perpetuates the idea that female nerds and gamers are incredibly rare, and that it's okay for them to be kind of objectified and put on a pedestal. I feel like that is kind of a theme that you see a lot in here, and it's just not true. Like there are a lot of female nerds and gamers. I think it's a problem when they become fetishized in the ways that they are in this book. So that was one of the issues that I had with it. There were a lot of other little stuff. So if you're interested in hearing more of my thoughts on it, feel free to go check out my Goodreads review. So this like was a little bit unfortunate because I thought I would love it. I was hoping to love it, and it was like, it was okay, but some of the stuff just got in the way of it, which was unfortunate. I did really enjoy the movie. I would probably rate the movie higher. In some ways I wish that the movie had stayed a little bit more true to the book, but I can see why they did it the way they did it. It would have been too long. It might have been cool. I mean, I see why this didn't happen, but like it might have been kind of cool if the movie had turned into like 2 or 3 movies and done more of the gates and the challenges and stuff, because they completely changed a lot of it, and it was much less focused on the 80s, and there were just much, it was just very different, and I see why they did it. I think I would have liked if they'd stayed a little bit truer to this, but left out the crap. So that's my word on Ready Player One. I'm glad I read it though. Then for the challenge of a book about something that I would like to do, I went a little out of the box and picked Beneath the Sugar Sky by Seanan McGuire, because I've loved the Wayward Children series. I really loved both of the first 2 books and gave them 5 stars. And I have always liked the idea of going through a portal into another world, which is kind of what this series is about. Unfortunately, this book just like was not as strong for me as the other books. This felt, I think I ended up landing on 3 stars for it. I liked some of what it was trying to do, but it felt much more like an issue book to me. It was driven more by the issues. The narrative was kind of all over the place, and yeah, it just didn't hit a lot of the right notes. Again, if you want to hear more detailed thoughts on this, go check out my Goodreads review that I wrote. But yeah, unfortunately, this one ended up being like 3 stars. I felt like it was too all over the place, too trying to hit specific issues, and just didn't work as well as the first 2 books, which was unfortunate. I mean, it was still good. Yeah, and I think I didn't know what to expect from this. A lot of people talk about like, oh, it's about like a fat mermaid, which is kind of true, but not really. That's not really what it's about. Like, one of the main characters in the story is a fat girl who had been in a world where she was a mermaid and has returned from that. So like her plot line is a big thread through it, but the story is really kind of this meandering thing about them going to different worlds, including this Candyland type place called Confection, to try to bring back to life Sumi to save her daughter. Anyway, it's this like very convoluted story, and a lot of things happen, and considering how like short the book is, I just felt like it was too much in too short a period of time. However, I have been hearing that the next book in the series is a much more straightforward narrative, kind of like the first 2 books, so I am very hopeful that I will enjoy that. So I will certainly be continuing on with the series because I've really loved a lot of what she's trying to do here. Then for my hat book, which was to read a book wearing the same hat. I read half of this wearing one hat, and then I lost the hat. So I wore a different hat for the second half, but I'm still counting this as complete. I read Queens of Fennbirn by Kendare Blake, and I loved this. This was fantastic. I think if you like this series, definitely go pick up the novellas. They do add a lot to the narrative. These aren't just sort of like one-offs that are like, whatever, it's kind of fun, but take it or leave it. These like actually really contribute to your understanding of the world, to your understanding of the characters. I thought both of them were fantastic. I ended up giving this one 5 stars, so I'm really glad I picked it up. Then to complete the challenge of reading a book with green on the cover, I read Siege and Storm by Leigh Bardugo. This is book 2 in the Grisha trilogy. I'm so glad I finally continued and picked this up, and I'm looking forward to reading book 3. I liked this better than the first book, actually. Yeah, it's fun. Nikolai gets introduced here. Let's see. Here we go. Sorry, my tripod is like tilting to the side, so sorry if my like angles are off, but whatever, it's fine. Anyway, Nikolai gets introduced in the story. I see why people love him. He is such a great character. I really, really like him. I have such mixed feelings about Alina, but you know, I like the fact that she's a complex female character, that she's not necessarily always likable and doesn't always make great choices and can be very selfish and stupid. So I think that that's like a positive thing, but I definitely have mixed feelings about her. Spoiler alert, I'll put my hand down, but like, I know that a lot of people ship her and Mal together. I like Mal. I do not think they are right for each other. I also don't like the Darkling, but I would go for her and Nikolai. That would probably be my ship in this case, so yeah. Spoilers over. But yeah, I really like this. I ended up giving this one 4 stars, 4.5 stars, I think. Yeah, really liked it. We'll continue on with the series. I like the world that she's creating, and it's fun. It's very readable. Like, I read it really fast. It was great. Okay, then for the challenge of reading a book with a beautiful spine, I read My Arc of Pride by Ibi Zoboi. This was another 5-star read, guys. It was so good. This is coming out September 18th. I've already like pre-ordered my finished copy of it, and it's so pretty. I mean, the spine is pretty, the cover's pretty. It wasn't entirely what I expected, but I still really like it. I've seen some not so great reviews, but I kind of think that if you know what you're getting into going in, like if your expectations are right going in, then maybe you'll appreciate it more. Really what she does here is she takes the issues that Jane Austen was dealing with in Pride and Prejudice, the issues of like class prejudice, and translates them into modern day Brooklyn. And I think she does such a great job of that. This is sometimes a little bit more serious. Like, this is definitely not going to be a whimsical Pride and Prejudice retelling. Although, you know, you get those moments, you get the hate to love romance, you get bits of that, which is great and fun. But I think what she really does very well is kind of deconstructs the prejudices that we have around issues of class and race and poverty. So, like I said, this is a remix of Pride and Prejudice. And our Lizzie Bennet is Zori Benitez, and she is a Black girl from the hood with a lot of attitude, and she is like this crazy strong character, and she's great. She has a mouth. and uses it. And I honestly, I mean, I feel like this is probably what Elizabeth Bennet in this situation would sort of have been like. I think some people don't like it because it's not like the nice sort of Victorian thing, but I think in reality this really does the things that Jane Austen was doing for her time, but in our time. So anyway, they live in Bushwick in Brooklyn. This deals with gentrification because what happens is the sort of wealthy Darcy family moves in across the street. They've got two cute black teen boys, and Darius is kind of our Mr. Darcy, and he looks down on Zuri and her family for being ghetto, I think is what he says at one point, and it really does a fantastic job of deconstructing the ways that we think of things. And yeah, anyway, I loved this. I hope a lot of people read it because I think it's doing a lot of really important things. I think it's just great, and it's thought-provoking and challenging in a lot of good ways. So if you want to hear more, again, I do have a Goodreads review of this that goes into even more detail. If you're interested in seeing me do a full review of it, I am open to doing that. I may do that. Anyway, this was really good. Pride by Ibi Zoboi. And then the final challenge was to read 7 books. So my 7th book was We Should All Be Feminists by Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie. And guys, this was great. I've listened to her TED Talk. I didn't realize that this is actually based on her TED Talk. So if you've heard that, it's the same material. It's good material. I mean, I gave this 5 stars. I think this is just a fantastic basic introduction to feminism and the way we think about gender, and she talks about it from the perspective of African culture because she is from Nigeria. But yeah, I love it. I love everything that I've read by Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie. She's just fantastic. Highly recommend it. And it's just this like short little book, but it's really powerful. It's less than 50 pages, so go pick it up. And then the final thing that I read during BookTubeAthon was a book that actually started before it began, but since I finished early, I went ahead and finished up this book, and I really, really liked it, guys. It's a book by an indie author, which can be a little bit hit and miss. But this was a huge hit. It is the first in a new series. I think book 2 is coming out in October. It's called Wolves and Roses, part of the Fairy Tales of Magicorum series by Christina Bauer. I really enjoyed this. I ended up giving it 5 stars. I think it's so much fun. I think if you like paranormal romance and you want like a YA take on that, and if you like fun kind of fairy tale retellings in the vein of if you've read any of the fairy tale graphic novels, like that graphic novel series that takes like a fun modern spin on it, definitely go pick this up. I think it's so much fun. It's got magic and shifters and romance, and yeah, it's really interesting. I like the world she creates. I like the characters. It's a really quick read and really enjoyable, so I definitely recommend it. So if any of those things sound good to you guys, go check it out. Like I said, book 2 comes out in October, and I really would like to continue with the series because I really enjoyed this. Anyway, that is all of the books that I read for BookTubeAthon. I feel like it was pretty successful, and even having gotten sick, I think it went pretty well. Talk to me in the comments down below. Let me know any of your thoughts about these books, and I hope that you had a wonderful BookTubeAthon as well. Yeah, it was great. If you guys liked this video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe if you want to see more. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.